Thank you for having me here today. It's a pleasure. I'm Joshua Roman, and that is how a cellist says hello. I love this piece, the prelude by Johann Sebastian Bach from his first suite for solo cello. No matter how many times I've played it, which is more than any other piece I know, it brings me joy every time, and I really wanted to start today's set with something that I've loved for as long as I can remember. So, thus the Bach. Two years ago, I actually was facing the possibility of never playing that beautiful music again. I got COVID in January of 2021, and unfortunately, I never fully recovered. I have long COVID, and to this day, I'm affected by dysautonomia, which is a nervous system condition where the body doesn't properly regulate things, the reactions to things like temperature changes or walking or really any kind of exertion. So I take medication to keep my heart rate from skyrocketing, sometimes over 200, and to keep the trembling as steady as possible. Sometimes I even wake up in the morning just vibrating, and you can see it in my hands. And it's not great for a cellist. I also have brain fog, which I think a lovely catch-all term we all can relate to. But in my case, it's difficulty processing, and so it's diminished my capacity for reading and complicated thinking, complex thinking, and even forced me to stop driving because of the cognitive shutdowns that occur when processing all of that information. Not great stuff, and I'm learning how to manage it. There's a great team at Mount Sinai, the long COVID recovery team, and I learn more every month about how to deal with these symptoms, great support groups. The beginning of this 2 years ago was pretty difficult, and after pushing through a couple of very important concerts in the early months of this journey, I put the cello away. I didn't have any concerts on the calendar, and I put it away, and I left it in the case for the longest I ever have. And doubts that I'd been pushing down for years started to come up, and those doubts about whether I would continue playing the cello. I've always wanted to do something that felt like it had meaning, and you can always doubt yourself with that, but then at that moment, I was also faced with the difficulty of struggling sometimes to even pick up the bow, let alone get through a whole practice session. After almost 3 months of letting the cello case literally collect dust, I finally brushed it off because a friend of mine had asked me to play for her summer solstice party, and I felt like I had to say yes. But I waited until the last minute, and the day before this party, I picked up the cello, dusted off the case, picked up the cello, just to see if my fingers worked. And as I began to play, I started with the same notes you just heard me play. Sorry. I was overcome with emotion, feeling this sound, something that's so familiar. I've played since I was 3. I love the cello. And I realized that I'd been cutting myself off from feeling that because it was all about giving. I hadn't been allowing myself to receive the sound. In case you couldn't tell, it's a little scary being up here talking about being vulnerable. on stage, especially for a professional performer. I'm a performer, and I'm a perfectionist, and vulnerability opens you up to mistakes, and mistakes don't belong on stage. So that's a challenge, and something I realized through this process, that connection that I felt when I picked up the cello after almost 3 months was only possible because I was open, because I was vulnerable. As hard as that is for a perfectionist to grapple with, that is the path to sharing. That is the thing that makes art human. So that's the path that I'm committed to now. I want to celebrate the sound of the cello, and so I'm going to play for you the other piece that I played at that party. It's one of my favorite celebrations of the versatility of style that the cello has to offer. Another that I've played many, many times over the years. This is Giulio by Mark Summer.